So I'm super excited to have today's guest. It's somebody that I've admired for her work around the menopause in the last few years. Meg Mathews has gone from being Brit Pop Icon with a prolific career in the music scene in the 80s and 90s, turned her hand to being a fantastic interior designer, and now has found her passion and helping other women through the menopause with Meg's Menopause. So I am delighted to be joined by Meg Mathews this morning, and it's somebody that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. So good morning, Meg.
And thank you for having me, because we kept missing each other, didn't we?
We did, yes, an absolute pleasure. And I found that lockdown has actually been a good opportunity for me to get hold of people that I've been trying to for a while, because everyone's forced at home. So there's plus side.
Yeah. Yeah, and me. And I've just decided to fill my days doing like podcasts and interviews and talks and whatever else. It's really boring, because usually probably 30% or 40% is I'm usually out doing talks in in other corporate companies or with HR or in government sectors, just helping the menopause and sort of spreading the word. But I can't go. Everything got cancelled. I had about 20 talks in place, so it's gone from really busy to nothing.
So how's lockdown life looking for you? Are you quite structured? Are you just kind of taking it?
Yeah, I'm really structured. I have no problem with this at all. I mean, we call it lockdown, but is it really lockdown, because we're allowed out?
Yeah.
So I think if we weren't, so I go out at 6 a.m. I walk for 2 hours every morning from 6 till 8 with my dog. I'm very lucky. I have quite a privileged life. I do know that. And I have a lot of gratitude for that, because I know lots of other people do not have my life or my lifestyle or my home or where I live. So for me, I'm not going to complain at all, because, I'm in a percentage of, people that is quite fortunate, and there's a lot less fortunate people than me. So, I wouldn't, I won't be moaning about anything. I've got food, I've got a nice house, I get to go for a walk, I'm surrounded by trees, I'm on my own, but you know what? I mean, I'm absolutely fine with my own company. More, than, I get to FaceTime my friends, I get to do quizzes, I get to have my own time. Now, there could be other menopausal women trying to cope with husbands and partners who can't understand them, or they haven't even been able to even communicate what they're going through, because they don't understand that they're tearful or they're angry or they're not sleeping. They might just be putting it all down to this.
Yeah.
So, and I'm lucky enough that been on this journey now for since I was 49, and I'm now 54. So it's a good few 5-6 years. So, and I take estrogen, and I take progesterone, and I take testosterone, and it's, my hormones are level. So I'm not going all up and down. Of course, I have a few days. I had a couple of night sweats the other night, and that's the first time in 2 years.
So for anybody that doesn't know about Meg's Menopause and kind of your journey, how did it all begin?
Right. So for me, it all began, when was we? 2016. Or is it 2017? 2016. I basically came back from holiday, and I was really tearful, but I thought it was holiday blues, and I've been feeling like this off and on. So I was about 49, and then I kept going to the doctor and just bursting into tears, and they just kept giving me antidepressants. Then the anxiety went through the roof, and I had all this anxiety, and I was fearful of life, and I couldn't really understand what was going on, and I just was like, I couldn't leave the house. And it became like I had agoraphobia. I had this foggy brain. I felt nauseous. I was just this anxiety. I couldn't drive my car. I just found everything overwhelming. The whole of life was really overwhelming. And so I basically didn't leave the house for 3 months. And what I did was my daughter would go to school. She would just go to school in an Uber, because I couldn't drive her. My partner would go to work, and I would then just go back to bed. I would just scrape my hair back. I didn't really wash my hair. I just had my workout gear on. I used to set the alarm for 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They used to come back and I'd light a few candles, and then I just used to sort of make excuses. Like I said, oh, I've been really busy all day, and you know, teenage children aren't going to question you, and my partner's going to say, well, what did you actually get up to today? You know, I'm always doing something. So, and then I just go, let's get a pizza or get a takeaway, and then I just go, oh, I'm just going to go and watch Netflix, and I just go back to bed again. And you know, and then I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I went to an AA meeting, and I was just like, this is fucking shit. I don't even know why. I mean, I just might as well drink, you know, go down a bottle of vodka because I feel so shit. Nothing is working. And then as I left the meeting, after just sharing this with a load of strangers, this woman came to me and said, I think you're going through the menopause. Everything you're describing is the menopause. And I looked at her like, what the fuck? I'm like 49. I'm not a grey-haired little old lady like my nan. What are you saying? I'm not. And then she said, here is my number. And then as I was getting the Uber back, the penny dropped. You know, I don't know if it's a higher power moment or whatever, but the penny dropped, and I was just like, that is it. It is it. You know, when you know, yeah. I got on the phone when I got home. We spoke for hours, everything I talked about, every symptom that I had, she'd had. Then she told me about menopause clinics, that there were NHS menopause clinics. I'd not even heard of the word perimenopause. And then she showed me what she was taking, this body identical, which was a gel. And then I just was like, she gave me this information. I just took it all. But I went to my private doctor first because I rang my GP surgery and they went, can't fit you in. It's not an emergency, you know, be back 3 or 4 weeks. So I thought, okay, well, I will pay to go. So I went privately to my gynecologist and I did pay. So I had the blood test done, and then she did say to me, Meg, you just don't listen, because I've been telling you this since I've been putting your coil in for years, that, you know, you are perimenopause. But I just didn't take it on board. I just didn't even take it on. And then she even showed me my doctor's notes where she'd been telling me. So, you know, you just don't sort of take it on board. You know, you are coming up, might be perimenopause, or you have progesterone in the Mirena coil, so you won't be feeling, you know, so bad. Anyway, so 24 hours later, came back, you know, estrogen levels, rock bottom, FSH through the roof, which is the, you know, the hormone that basically tells you what your hormone levels are doing. So that was like through the roof, but that doesn't really count on anything really when you're when you're menopausal. Also, my partner had told me that I didn't bleed with the Mirena coil either, so that was really weird. So I hadn't had a period anyway, but I used to get spotting here and there. Anyway, so testosterone was low, progesterone was low, everything was low. So as I left, before she even got my bloods back, she handed me these gels over, and I was a bit like, what, you are telling me that I'm going to rub a bit of gel on my inner thigh and a bit of testosterone on here so it won't go hairy, and a progesterone tablet, and I'm going to be fine. A bit of gel on my leg. Are you sure? I should be having injections and be like diabetic, like checking all the blood, you know, all this stuff. And she was like, no, I just want you to put 1 pump of this gel, or maybe 2 pumps, but we'll wait to see when we get your results back tomorrow. So that did cost quite a bit of money, but it was the best money that I've ever paid in my life. And of course, I completely understand if you can't go. So then what I did was I then went to the GP with the stuff, emptied it out when I had my appointment in the next 3 weeks. And the girl looked at me, she was like 27. And I said, can you get any of this on the NHS? She said, well, I've never seen any of that. I said, well, look up in that book. So she opened her book up. She went, yes, everything's available except the testosterone, which I will have to send you to a menopause clinic. No, actually, I had to tell her about a menopause clinic. I said, you know, there's menopause clinics and you can only get testosterone. You, as a GP, cannot write me a prescription, but I can go to the Royal Free, or I can go to the Chelsea and Westminster, and the doctor there can give me testosterone. You know, I don't know why, but anyway, it's because it's something to do with your respiratory system. Anyway, she said, yes, I said, it's all available. So then I looked in it more, and then I found out that the gel only cost the NHS £4.
Was that all?
That's all it costs. When we look at all, 1 in 2 women will have osteoporosis. The billions of pounds that we pay for hip replacements, broken bones. 1 out of 3 women will suffer a stroke or a heart attack in the menopause, more than men. Suicide rate is higher, diabetes is higher, dementia. So all this stuff I'm now looking at, it's a prevention, you know. So if we start taking it earlier, you're going to have to shut me up when you want me to shut up. Okay?
I can so relate to everything that you're saying.
Okay.
So
basically, my mission started on, you know, saying to women, you can get all this on the NHS, because I just didn't feel like, you know, it is expensive to go, you know, 200 and whatever for an appointment. And then, you know, why should we? We're all women. It's a natural occurring thing, and, you know, it should be available to the government. Then also I started to feel, right, well, at 50, I got this letter which said, go and have a mammogram. It never said to me, you know, they want you to go and have your blood test and your blood pressure and a mammogram. There's nothing on that letter when I turned 50 about perimenopause, menopause, osteoporosis, you know, strokes and heart attacks, which now is what I want. So from the age of 45, I truly believe that at 45, every woman in this country should get a letter explaining the perimenopause and the menopause. I then did the DEXA scan, and I had osteoporosis. And then, so that was 2018. I was diagnosed in the red with osteoporosis in my left hip and in my lower back. And then I did, with Dr. Louise Newson, I did a live on 2019 World Menopause Day. I did a DEXA scan, and my osteoporosis had gone.
Oh, wow.
And I never took any of the medicine that they wanted to give me, because I looked it all up and I spoke to doctors, and it's, you know, quite ravenous on the body. And I thought, God, I'm like, you know, I'm 49, 50. What am I doing taking this now? My mum had it, which made me, you know, that's the reason why. And I had to lie about getting a DEXA scan on the NHS. I pretended that I drank, you know, 5 bottles of wine a night, and I smoked cigarettes, and I ate fish and chips, and I just ticked every box that said, because basically I did break my wrist, but I said I tripped over the curb, but I basically fell off a 3-meter wall backwards trying to break in my house, because I'd left my keys. So, you know, so it wasn't a trip, but it gave the excuse that I'd broken my wrist. So then I was like, right, you know, you're going to have a DEXA scan. So then I had osteoporosis for years, and now I don't have it. And that's because I upped the estrogel, which we now is a prevention. And I'm working with the Royal Osteoporosis Society, because we now know that it's all about prevention. So we're learning so much more. And women shouldn't have to go through all this stuff. Your life is not over, but you feel like it is over. I mean, I had aches and pains, foggy brain. Out of 34 symptoms, I had about 27.
That's the
no
thing.
libido.
I think so many people just think there's maybe 2 or 3 symptoms, like the night sweats and the foggy brain.
And no period. That's what I thought.
There's so many more symptoms that women probably just don't even know that they've got.
No, and this is the point. It's like, you know, I would get like itching, like I'd be scratching, like I had an allergy, didn't know that I was drying out from like the inside out. And then I had dry mouth syndrome, which felt like I'd drunk bleach. I mean, it was the worst. And I'd had that. And then my tongue felt like it used to get too big for my mouth. And all this sort of stuff. And then when I went and spoke to people, they were like, yeah, that's normal. Yeah, that's part of it. But unless you know that, you think, right, it's stress, it's life, it's getting old. You just tick those boxes. Because also, you know, it's unless you start talking about it, when you do start talking about it, the whole world talks about it, and everybody talks about it, and they talk about nothing else. It's like, you know, when you're first pregnant, all you talk about. But when, you know, unless you bring up the conversation, or, you know, I mean, no one was bringing up the conversation. I thought I was really well read, and I was going through all of these, but none of my friends were going through any of this. Number one, I think a lot of them were a lot younger than me, and the other ones that said that they were going through the menopause, that said that to me, I really truthfully thought to myself, that's not going to happen to me. Number one, I've never had a period pain in my life. Number two, I've never taken a day off games at school. Number three, I gave birth in an hour and 15 minutes. It's just not going to happen to me. And I actually remember when a couple of my girlfriends said, oh, we're going through the menopause early at like 42, 43, when I was that age. I was just like, no, that's definitely not happening to me. And I remember saying that like in my head, not going to happen to me. And then this happened at 49, and I had no idea whatsoever. And then that's why I thought,
why do you think there's still this stigma attached to it then? What, because we don't talk about it?
well, we're going to change this stigma. We really are going to change it. It's because for years and years, it's like, number one, you know, you're not fertile anymore. So, you know, when that is taken away from you, you know, I was a bit upset even though I didn't want to have any more children. You do sort of mourn a little bit, like, wow, that choice is taken away from me. Maybe I did want to have a kid. Maybe I should have frozen my eggs. I had all that went through my mind.
Me too.
Do you know what I mean? Maybe I would have wanted to have a surrogate mother. Of course I wouldn't. I couldn't even afford to do that sort of thing. But you know, in this life, but all that went through my head.
Yeah.
You know, I should have maybe have done that. Why didn't I do that when I was 35? Freeze some eggs, and then, you know, maybe, you know, could have done that. You know, Renee has left. Maybe I could be a mum. You know, all this stuff went through my head. So
it's almost like a grieving process. I found it almost like a grieving process.
It is definitely a grieving.
Yeah.
And then also there is the thing is that, you know, you're growing old, but then, you know, I noticed that everybody that I sort of looked up to and used to think was an amazing, from actresses to musicians, no one had spoken about it. Nobody had mentioned it. No Madonnas or Meryl Streeps, or I know that Sharon Stone just did the cover of Allure and decided to talk about it, but that was this month. So a lot has happened within the last 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's now all right to talk about it. For some unknown reason, when in 2017, when I first started, you know, there wasn't people talking about it. There wasn't, and it wasn't the done thing to talk about it. I talked about it just because I just didn't want women to suffer. And I felt that I had a service to do. It was like my calling. I thought I had to do this. It was what I was supposed to do. That's why.
I mean, I love the fact that you've used your high profile to be able to raise this issue to so many women, and you've also included other celebrity people that have talked about it on your page. And I think that's really important because it normalizes it, doesn't it? People need to see people that, you know, their role models normalizing it.
Yeah, because like you said, none of them, the ones that I always looked at, never have mentioned it. You know, I've flicked through biographies, I've done like lots of things, and you know, and we all see them and they're looking amazing. And you got Madonna or that. Maybe she didn't, because, you know, most people, you know, not everybody has a bad one, so we have to remember that. But a big percentage do. So, you know, and, you know, maybe it's just, you know, maybe it doesn't go well. I mean, I do help a lot of women in LA, like A-list celebrities that I chat and I help. And, you know, and a few of them going to me, you know, we don't know where to go in LA because other than it's all bioidenticals, we don't even know where to start. And also, we don't really want people to know, and I understand that. And the people that I have helped, they've never come out and said, you know, I'm going through the menopause, even though, like, for 2 years they were feeling shit and now they feel amazing. But they just don't want to. They said, no, I've got things going on, Meg. I still feel very uncomfortable with that, talking about it. But at least Sharon Stone has done a whole thing, so I mean, you know, which is great.
Do you think?
But then I suppose when you look like that and you feel like that and you look like 20.
Well, yeah, exactly. It helps. Yeah. I mean, do you think that obviously the way the media portray older women as well has got a part to play in lifting that stigma? Because you've obviously been in the spotlight for a long time, and now you're 50. Do you feel pressure? Do you think women feel pressured to kind of keep that youthful image and not talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I don't feel pressured, because I think sometimes now that, like, at 54, I look better than I did when I was 34. And I feel more empowered now, and I feel more comfortable in my skin. Of course, I you know, like any human being, I walk past the mirror and I'm like, oh, you know, and I see this jowly and I see this, and, you know, and I see all these things. But, you know, of course, you know, I am one of these people. I do a bit of Botox. I have a bit of this. I do, you know, I do things, you know, to help me maintain. This is not all au natural. Well, it's probably as natural as it's ever been for a long time, with no nails, no lashes, roots, and I'm feeling, you know, quite free actually, because it's an excuse to be allowed to be like this. And, you know, I don't really have much grey hair. So but even though my mum was like grey at 38, I thought I was going to be. So that's probably another thing. But I also, you know, I would do little bits and pieces, you know, and if I did later want to do, you know, do whatever, do my face, do my neck, I would do. I don't have anything, you know, against that. But of course I look and think, gosh, you know, and when I look at an AS's skin and everything, I'm like, oh God, remember when my skin used to be like that, sort of thick and feel like that? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then Naz always goes, Mum, your skin's so soft. I'm going, don't say that, because that's what I used to say to my nan. You know, it's like, it's not soft, it's because it's got no collagen in anymore, Naz. It's like, that's the softness. So I remember always saying that to my nan, going, your skin's so soft, Nan. And then, you know, I sort of feel I gave Naz a hug, and hers is just like, yes, so taunt, do you know? Yeah. But, you know, it's like, I've accepted it. That's the point. I've just accepted it, because I think I was trying to fight it more. And I say this to people, when you turn 40, that is nothing. You know, you have this big 40th birthday. When I turned 50, it was nothing. It's like, I'm saying 43 is when you start to sort of see the changes for me. You know, 50, I was like laughing. I look back at 50 and I'm like, God, you know what I mean? It's like those relevant birthdays that you have, you know, you don't sort of notice. And I also notice that I age 2 times a year. And I've kept a diary. So October and the beginning of March is really weird. Every time in October, I notice everything. That is when when my body changes completely, like the face, the lines, everything changes. October, and then the first week of March. And I've kept this diary now for 10 years.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's those time of the year when October's coming, I go, because, you know, you sort of look in the mirror, I think, and you get used to what you look like. But in the first 2 weeks of October, it's always when I look in the mirror and I'm like, God, yeah, I do look a bit like older. But then, of course, you look in the mirror, and then after 3 days or whatever, you get used to it because you're used to what you're seeing. But I notice in those 2 times is when I all of a sudden get a little bit like, wow.
I like the idea of diary. I think that's a really interesting idea to keep it in a diary. Yeah. When you first started, you started blogging about it, didn't you, about your experience? So how did that grow into what you've now got as a real online community, haven't you?
Wow, yeah, it's because I've got ADHD and I'm dyslexic, and whenever I went on the internet, it was just like the NHS or the British Menopause Society, and it was long, and it was the nice guide, and it was just long pieces of writing, and I really needed to, number one, teach myself so I could teach other women. So for me, I wanted bright pictures and straight to the point. And then I wanted to talk and say it in like my language. So, you know, the loss of libido or dry vaginas or brain fog, I just wanted to speak how it was with me and just record it as it was. And then basically after the Instagram started to take off, and then set up a website, and I think I got over 1 million hits in the first 6 months. So I knew that I was doing something that women wanted. And then I got asked to write a book by Penguin, Random House, and then, you know, and then TV, and then it just organically grew. And within that time, I then was making my products in 2017. So I came up with this menopause range that I wanted, because everywhere I went to Boots, there was just veggie fresh and femme fresh, and there was nothing for your pH balance, and no one was telling you that, you know, I thought that was all for smelly vaginas. I didn't know that it was for pH balance. No one had done a balm, so when you're wearing jeans or you're wearing tights or you're sitting at a desk and, you know, the collagen has gone in your vulva like it goes in your face, you know, your lips of your vulva are thinner and they, you know, and it's a bit open, and it's, nobody had told me any of this stuff. So I wanted to do a range that was vegan, that was natural, that was not in plastic, and was like $9.99, $8.99. I was in Tesco's and Boots, and it was just available for every woman. You know, you know, not in Space NK, and, you know, £45 for a, you know, a face spray and all this. And also I knew that it was important that women needed vitamins and they needed superfoods, because I'm really into my vitamins. I would go to Planet Organic and I would go to Whole Foods and I would buy my superfoods and I would buy my vitamins. And I can guarantee that if I had to start and go my vitamin Bs and my chlorella and my wheatgrass and my green tea extracts, if I bought that all together, I would leave with about £200 or more, adding up on vitamins and MSM and Akaya and all this, so superfoods and all the vitamins, and it would cost £200 to £300. And I decided that I wanted to make something in a sachet which had every one of those in at the highest quantity, and it was in a paper, and you just added it to like an oat milk, coconut milk, not a dairy milk, and you did it with the frother in the cold milk, and it was like a little vanilla milkshake, and that would just fill me up. And then you got every vitamin and superfood, and it was called the Meno Blend, and I wanted women to be able to have that without having to, you know, they could do their weekly shopping, and that's £1 a day, and then they could put these in their shopping basket, because I remember my mum like doing the weekly shopping, and you know she would have the housekeeping money. Now you can't just put £45 in, and this, you know, that's a whole meal for a family. So every woman was going to go through the menopause, and I just thought, this is a nice looking range. You've got lubricant next to the bed, you know, and it's pink, and it doesn't shout Durex or KY gel. You've got this in the shower. When I've got like all Inez's friends in my shower, boys and girls, there's M&M, and it just says, you know, Blossom Love, and there's the Blossom Balm, you know, and it's just, you know, and it really helps with everything for the menopause. And, you know, and that's something that I did when I was going through my really bad time, when I was lying in bed watching Frankie and Grace, and they were making their lube out of a yam. That's when I got my ideas from.
Brilliant.
So there you go.
I love it. I love that program.
Yeah.
You know,
that's where I got the idea.
You talked earlier about the NHS having these menopause clinics and groups.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through the menopause, and I've never even heard such a thing.
There is.
Offered it.
There's menopause clinics. So when you go to your GP, and you will be able to get your estradiol, which is the gel, which is derived from yam,
I have.
which is great.
Yeah.
And then you can get your estrogen progesterone, which is the tablet you take at night. The only thing they can't give you is testosterone. Now, testosterone is the thing that will give you the bit of oomph back in your steps. So, like, you want to go and train, you want to go and run, and will help with your libido. So you can ask to be referred to a menopause clinic. I think there's only 17 in the country, but you can be referred.
I mean, that in itself says a lot, doesn't it? That there's only 17 in the country when there's literally millions.
And when we've got 13 million women going through the menopause today, yes. So,
you know, is that something you'd look at in the future, do you think, having kind of creating something?
Yeah, I mean, I was on the 18th of March supposed to be going into Parliament to speak to lots of lots of women MPs. So I hopefully will. It will be something that I'll move forward with like lobbying, making sure that, you know, these letters go out, make sure that there are menopause clinics, make sure that our GPs are up to date. I mean, they're not up to date, and it's not their fault. We have 28 medicine schools or universities in this country. I think the curriculum are different in most of them, and most of them only do 3 hours on the menopause, and it's still only the old menopause.
Yeah, I mean,
so we have to do a lot of changing, and hopefully with my voice and who I am, I will be able to change this and get working on this.
And what
That's
about
what I want to do.
Because you do Meg's menopause conventions, don't you? So what do they look like?
So basically, they started our first one was in 2018. So we launched the website in January, and then Dr. Tiago, who is one of the directors, he said he's a doctor, and he was just like, we're going to do a conference. And I was a bit like, conference sounds so doctor-like. Anyway, I was a bit like, oh, it's not Mikey, not trendy, cool enough for me. But he did it amazingly, and he put this whole conference, and he had speakers, and I was just a bit blown away by it, considering I'd just been a bit like, oh. And, you know, we were one of the first, you know, sort of women to put a conference together in central London You came, I think it was like £60 for a ticket, but you got, you know, tea and coffee, you got a brilliant vegetarian buffet. And then you had the best speakers all day, from Dr. Louise Newson to Diane Zunzberg to Liz. Oh, you had everybody. So basically you had, you know, you'd have sex, you'd have sex on being intimate. We'd have, you know, exercise, skin, nutrition, doctors, all about hormones. And then you'd have a Q&A. So basically from 9 in the morning till 5, you had a whole day, a full day of being able to you know, be part of it. And then I started to put meditations into it and dancing into it, so women could all get up and dance. And you know, I make sure that everybody who's there, because you know, a lot of women will come on their own, and then I'd say, right, turn to your right, introduce, give that woman a hug, turn to your left, introduce yourself, give them a hug, because lots of women here are on their own. You know, they've saved up to come to this. And, you know, and then I'd let them all sort of chat, and we'd breathe, and we'd sit, and we'd do meditation and breathing and hugging, and basically just bringing the room together.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to try and come in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, so it's October the 16th now.
I mean, you have created this community, haven't you? Online community.
Yeah.
What's the kind of most common questions you get asked by women?
Right, so talking about community, I'm just going to get in there because the app, my MegMenopause app, is amazing, because it means all you women can talk to each other. So basically there isn't really a place where women can go to. So now if you're on there, you can put up a message or a note, and then you can talk to other women. And also you can, if you follow one person, it's like Instagram, and they follow you back, then you can privately DM. But if you I go on there every single day and answer everyone's messages.
Wow.
So, and then you can ask other women, and every woman, they're just all interacting with each other. So if you're asking questions, like someone said, oh, I bled the other day, has anyone else had this? So it's great, and it's free, and you get everything on there. And also there's the tracker, I think, is going up next week. And also you can take all your symptoms, and you can take the app into your GP to show him exactly what's going on.
Oh, that's really good. I think it's that idea of having other women to share your experiences with, because I know when I started going through, even like particularly the perimenopause, I thought I was going mad, and I really didn't have anybody. None of my friends had started going through it, so it was like, what the hell's happening to me? It's a really turbulent time. So to have other women that you can go, okay, that's why I'm feeling like that today, is a massive relief.
It's a really good relief. So with the app, you know, women are putting up, like I've noticed lately, they're all trying to make sourdough bread. Other people are putting up their baking. Everyone's putting up pictures of their dogs and what they've been doing. And I think, you know, it feels a really good community. And also I'm very proud because it's in 5 languages. It's in Portuguese, it's in Italian, Spanish, French and English.
That's really impressive.
So basically, we cover half the population, which is great, because of Spanish and, of course, Portuguese.
How would you like to see this grow in the next 5 years?
Right. Well, I mean, I basically, number one, want to get laws changed. I want HR to be changed. I want women to basically, it's because it's not a disability, but it's disabilitating. So I want in the workplace flexible hours to be able to be brought in, which of course it can be, because by law, if you do www.gov.org/flexible, if you've worked for your company for 26 weeks or more, you are allowed flexible working hours, just so every woman knows that. And then you can write a letter to HR. They have to get back with you within a month. So you can have flexible working hours. It is in the law in this country, but nobody knows. So there'd be, you know, I'd like to see that flexible hours. I'd like at the age of 45, I'd like to be able that the perimenopause, we know that 1 in 100 women are going through the perimenopause from the age of 40 to 45. When I speak to a lot of young girls in companies, you know, they're not even thinking about having kids till in their 40s, which we now know that we see that IVF is like through the roof. My best friend, she was doing IVF, 41 and 42, hit 43. Then they said to her, I'm really sorry, your eggs are they're just not good enough quality. You can't have a child. So she ended up going to Denmark and having to have the egg and the sperm, and now she's got a beautiful baby boy. But she was, you know, pregnant but she was perimenopausal, so it's really great. So we do a talk with that, because, you know, she was doing 1,000 milligrams of like estrogen and progesterone a day, and I was doing like 100 milligrams of progesterone. And it was really weird that she's my best friend, so everything that she was taking was what I was taking daily. She was taking it to get pregnant, of course, and I was just taking it to feel sane. But that's another thing, because young women don't even think about that either, you know. And so we need to get this out to them as well. You know, be telling women, you know, it's, you know, the average age, or the best age to have a child, is 32. We know this is scientifically. But then onwards, you know, your eggs are declining. And, you know, this is another thing that, you know, is not spoken enough about either.
Yeah.
And I think we can cover everything.
What about your views on HRT? Because I know I've got friends that are scared still to go on it, so they're not choosing to go on. And for me personally, the estrogel has been a lifesaver.
Yeah, but we have to say, you know, okay, HRT, we had that scare in 2002, I think it was, and 2005, where we said HRT, and even I got this big bubble that said cancer. Yeah. But that was synthetic HRT. I think it was called Provivian or something, and it was made from mare's urine. And then when you take the tablet, it goes through your liver, which can cause clotting. Okay, when you put the gel on, it doesn't go through your liver. It goes straight into your bloodstream. Okay, if there is 1,000 women in the room, you know, 7 of those women are going to get breast cancer anyway. And not because they're taking HRT, it's probably because they might be obese, because their diet isn't good enough, or they're drinking too much, or they're smoking, or they're just going to get it. Yeah. The percentage of it is, and I know, and these women, but the other thing that makes me laugh as well when you ask these women, because they say it to me, but then I go, so were you ever on the pill? They go, of course I was. I was on the pill when I was 15. That is synthetic estrogen. From 15 to 35, I took the pill, and I took it not very correctly. I used to take it when I didn't want a period. I used to just think, oh, fuck, I'll just take it go through my, you know, when I would stop taking it. Yeah. From 15 to 35, did I think even twice? And the minute you said, I'm going to give you a bit of synthetic estrogen, we all go, no. But, you know, there we go. You know, we were all taking it. And, you know, our age, everyone was on the pill. Yeah. You know, no one was not on the pill. So, you know, I understand there is a scare, and there is certain women that cannot take, HRT, or we should just say hormone replacement therapy. Yeah. You know, they can't. So, you know, there is different ones, like localized ones that you can just put in your vagina, or, you know, there's homeopathic. There is lots of different ways of taking, you know, and I understand that, you know, everyone can take it. But I am, you know, I will shout from the rooftops about estrogel, because it's so safe. Yeah, it's so safe. And, you know, it's something that I can just rub on and feel normal. I mean, I still don't really get my head around it. I'm still like, really? Yeah. Really? You know, it's like, you know, and, you know, I'm on 5 pumps, you know, but some people are on 12 pumps, you know, it just, you know, and some people are on 1 and some people are on 2. And I had a blood test a couple of weeks ago, which I couldn't even believe they did it with the corona thing going on, because I did it beforehand, but then I thought I'll never get my test back. And my doctor called me. I went, are you really giving me my test? I hadn't had a blood test for 2.5 years. Yeah. You know, I just did it because I thought, well, I should just do it just to look more at my thyroid and my cholesterol, and, you know, just look at all those things as well. But everything was just completely normal. So I go with how I feel. If you need to pop another little, you know, little pump on, then you do, you know. But as I am not a doctor, please, I'm not allowed to actually say these things. So don't follow me. Please don't see your medical doctor.
It's interesting to have your opinion on it. Are you happy?
No, I know. I'll always give my opinion, but I have to say to people, you know, I'm not a doctor, so remember that.
Have you surprised yourself how passionate you've become about this subject?
Yeah.
The work you're doing?
Yeah. It's given me a real purpose in life. You know, I've done a lot of things in my life. You know, I mean, I've done interiors. I did interiors for Posh and Becks. I've done Scarves for Liberties, wallpapers. You know, I've done so many. I've worked in the music industry. I've, you know, done everything. But this is the thing that I've been the most passionate about ever in my life, because I'm being of service and I'm helping women, and the DMs that I get, and you know, I just didn't want anyone to go through what I was going through, and I didn't even have to get up and go to work, or get on a tube, or get on a bus, or cook a meal for like 5 kids, or you know, I could get around without doing these things. And also, I always counted myself as being very knowledgeable, you know. But my mum passed away in the August before before I had time to ask her. So then when I asked my dad, of course, my dad was just like, I think so. You know, didn't really know. You know, he didn't really know. And now he thinks he's like knows everything about the menopause now. You know, he's like, he's makes me laugh, because I'm like, I asked you this, but now you know everything. You know, he's but I think what I'm doing is going to change a lot and help a lot of women. And that is what I really want to do, and that is why I'm going to do this, and that's why I'm going to carry on doing this, because I know with my voice, it's like when I get asked to go and do talks at, like, you know, big companies, they say the reason, and I know this, is if it's like at lunchtime, or it's, you know, of course, if they're going to have an expert, how many people are going to turn up? But if they've got me there, then everyone turns up. And I know that, like, I did a talk for like the Foreign Office. I mean, they could have had anyone they wanted in. Do you know what I mean? The best of the best, you know, the doctors are doctors. And I've been to them twice, and it's made a huge difference for them. And I think they've moved to flexible hours and everything. And then the NHS were doing a big talk, and they do it every 18 months, and it was on March the 25th. And they asked me to be one of the menopause experts to speak to the heads of the NHS. So I was really like blown away. Just they wanted to know, you know, not the medical side, but just the whole thing about what I was thinking and talking. So that got cancelled. So that was a shame, because I was really going to go for it then, and really hopefully change, you know, with that stupid letter when you're 50 to go for a mammogram, when they should be explaining the mammogram is none of my problem. The night sweats, the foggy brain, I mean, for me, I was in such a low place because the antidepressants weren't working, that I mean, I was in a really dark place. So I might not even be here today. That's what I'm trying to explain to people, that it can take you to a very dark, lonely place.
I mean, I love what you're doing, and I think the fact that you've used your platform, and because you could so easily have just gone through all this quietly without telling anybody. And I love the fact that you've chosen to speak out, and just it's inspiring, and it's so helpful. I mean, you know, you can constantly go on your website and find a new piece of information.
Well, good. I mean, I have to say, I have the most amazing team. I mean, Ornello, who writes my articles, she's an amazing doctor. She's just a phenomenal woman. I mean, she's in lockdown in Italy. She's been in lockdown, for 8-9 weeks, with a 2-year-old toddler, and she's giving birth on Friday.
Oh God!
And she's still writing, and we still talk every Sunday and do all the Instagrams, and she's still writing things. And I'm like, you're going to give birth on Friday. You don't know if you're going to give birth in the hallway because you gave birth in an hour last time. Are you going to get to hospital? They're so strict in Italy still. They're not even, she's still on lockdown. And I mean, and she's still writing away, and she's, you know, it amazes me. You know, my team is small. There's you know, 4 of us. That's it in my team. That is it.
Well,
and it's, you know,
you're doing an amazing job.
I'm just proud because, you know, we haven't got huge amounts of people. There, you know, 1 IT person, 1 doctor, 1 person, business person, and a PR. You know, so, you know, we're just, you know, we're a small team. We usually work around my kitchen table there, but actually also we're very virtual, which I think is quite cool. So I have 1 person in Portugal, 1 person in Italy, and 2 in London. So it's quite mad how we work these days. You don't need all these offices and all these expenses, and
no,
you know.
I think lockdown will make quite a lot of businesses change the way they look at things like that.
Yeah, because we already work like that. So the two main people for me, one lives in Madrid, but he's back in Portugal now, and then Ornello, she's in the south of Italy, and they've always worked for me like that, and you wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I look forward to seeing everything that you can achieve, particularly when it comes to policy changing. It's really interesting. Last three questions I ask all my guests.
Yes. Okay. So I put them. You want
a song or a piece of music that always motivates you?
Okay, so my piece of music would be Love Is, Alison Limerick.
Oh.
The Love Is, just because it's, I don't know, it's that tune that I never get tired of.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking about this for ages actually this morning. I was thinking, oh my God, I want to say Radiohead and Creep and Bjork and all these sort of things. And then I just thought, well, no, because if there's one tune that I could, or that whenever I hear makes me smile, it's that tune.
Do you miss the music industry? Because you do love music.
Well, no, I just think I was really lucky to be in it when I was in it, because I was in it from the 80s. So I was working with Def Jam and Betty Boo and Ice-T, and I had the best time. And then, of course, in the 90s, I was with the Brit Pop world. So before that, I was with all the hip hop lot. I was like one of the only white. I was working for Def Jam and meeting like Ice Cube and Ice-T and So I was very lucky within my music career of just being in the right place at the right time always. And then, of course, I had the 90s Brit Pop, which was brilliant. And I mean, how from going from the 80s hip hop to 90s, how are you ever going to get better than that? And now the music industry is not the same as it was. I mean, the gigs and and the colourful 90s, what I was getting up to was very colourful, and and whatever, 22 years on, I'm now recovering alcoholic, and walk my dog and meditate, and
but now you found a new
my whole life was completely different. I mean, I would not even the energy that it took to do all that as well. Oh my God, took a lot of energy.
And what about a book that's inspired you?
Right. So the book I have picked is, you probably know this book. It's called Untamed.
Oh no, I don't know it. No.
Oh, okay. So it's called Untamed by Glennon Doyle.
Right. Oh,
and she is amazing. So Glennon Doyle, I'll read this out to you because my brain is not all there. So Glennon Doyle is the author of the #1 New York bestseller, Love Warrior, an Oprah Book Club selection, as well as a New York Times leading bestseller, Carry On Warrior, an activist, speaker, and a thought leader. She's also the founder and president of Together Rising, an all-women-led non-profit organization that has revolutionized grassroots philanthropy, raising over 20 million for women and families and children in crisis. With most frequent donation of just $25, Glennon was named amongst own network SuperSoul 100 inaugural groups as one of 100 awakening leaders who are using their voices and talent to alleviate humanity.
Right.
So she lives in Florida with her wife and her 3 children, and she is Glennon Doyle on Instagram, and I mean, everybody follows her. Oprah, Reese Witherspoon, and her book is amazing.
Oh, fabulous.
It's a phenomenal book, and she is a phenomenal. She's on every day, and she's on every day. She does this thing called morning meeting, and it's amazing, her IGTVs. If you start listening to her, you get mesmerized by the way she talks, the way she moves, the way she touches, the way everything she talks about is phenomenal. You'll start watching her, you won't be able to.
That's what I'll be doing this afternoon. That's my afternoon.
Yeah, go on her Instagram later. You will be blown away.
Brilliant.
Because she speaks from the heart so truthfully. Yeah, go and look at all her IGTVs and go back. They're amazing.
And who inspired you?
Well, she has.
Yeah.
So I think I discovered her through my girlfriend, the one called Mother Earth IVF, who is my like soul sister, my best friend that had the baby. She's, because I'm always doing this and she's at home with her little lovely little boy Wilder Ray, so she's always discovering, and she always passes on to me like podcasts and people and books, because I'm always doing this. I don't have the time to, you know, sit through and find new people and podcasts, and, you know, she's always, you know, everything that she learns and finds, you know, like from everyone from like a Marianne Williamson or whatever, she will find me a book or a podcast to listen to. So she passes on to me all her learnings. So I always give her shouts out. So you'll see today that I gave her a shout out on my Instagram about this book, because it was from her who told me to go and buy and read this book, because it's what I needed to do. So she, you know, because I'm doing Meg's Menopause, I don't have the time, but because she's at home and she's got a little boy, she's all, you know, looking at things and reading, and she always seems to find things. She's that sort of person. So that's what it's about, giving and sharing and passing on. She's like my soul. I see her as my soul sister, like researcher, that she passes on to me, and then I can pass on to all you women, you know.
Well,
so it's all a part of giving.
Well, yeah, you are such a giving person, and I really appreciate your time talking to you today. I could have talked to you for hours about so many
It's been
things.
amazing.
So thank
you for having me so much. And then, it's just been brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you so much, and good luck with everything.
And loads of love.
Thank you so much, Meg.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.